Hi, welcome back to day 5 of Get Grounded. I'm Carrie Foreman, and this is Fernie Foreman. She's my second rescue dog, and she's a puppy in training, so she might do some crazy things here today, but we will try and keep her on task. One of my favorite quotes that I see floating around on Facebook is, "Your vibe attracts your tribe." I've always applied that quote to me socially, that if I am authentic in who I am, I'll attract the right people into my inner circle. But what if we apply it on a professional level? How authentic are you allowed to be in your profession, or are you in your profession? When you take a job, you're asked to wear a mask, basically. You're in the job, obviously, for yourself, for the paycheck, but you're also in the job to help build somebody else's business. So you have to wear a mask because you have to be who they want you to be. Yesterday's video, I mentioned that I went back to school in my 30s. One of the big reasons that I did that was so I could stop wearing the mask. So I could just be who I am and work for myself, hopefully, by being authentic. I was told various times throughout my program that too much self-disclosure is a bad thing in therapy. You really want to try to not self-disclose because it can be confusing. There are some very good reasons for this, and we'll talk about that. Now, there are many reasons that counseling programs teach this. Number one is projection. They don't want me to project my feelings. If I've gone through something similar to my client, they don't want me to project my experience onto my client. Makes sense, right? Also, too much self-disclosure can change your relationship with the client. I get that. And for my own safety in some extreme cases. I did my internship at this great place who specialized in domestic violence. They worked with victims and offenders. I was expected to be the expert in the room. At least that's how I felt. I think I probably put a lot of that on myself. My supervisors continued to reassure me, "We don't expect you to be an expert yet." But I felt like even though I completely related to how some of my clients grew up, I couldn't disclose that to them. And that felt like a handicap. I felt like I couldn't fully help my clients unless I let them know I get it. I began to notice some incongruencies in how I felt when I was going to work. I began to notice some tightness of my stomach, tightness of my throat, rapid thought process, fast heart, when I was in the room with my clients, where I was usually so comfortable. It took self-awareness for me to realize, and a pretty long process, for me to realize that that incongruency was created from not being my authentic self. I was finally able to say, "Me too." Not in a way that made them feel like they needed to comfort me. Not in a way that created a caretaker in my client for me, but in a way that said, "Look, I get it. I grew up in a very similar way to you, and here's how I handled the journey." Taking their personal account into consideration and blending those together. When I began to do that, the mood in the room shifted. There just became a better bond between my client and I. They saw me different. I guess I wasn't the expert in the room anymore, and clearly I was flawed. It was two humans sitting in a room figuring this shit out together. And even though I was several steps ahead of my client on this journey, all of a sudden, through me saying "me too," we were in this journey together. And that felt so good to both of us. And all of a sudden, the incongruencies started to clear up. Despite all of our differences, the clients and myself all had one thing in common: really dysfunctional childhoods that did not equip us with the coping skills to deal with adult life, with adult emotions. The state that I feel the most comfortable is authenticity. I can't help without being me. My best help comes from experience mixed with education. I'm now open about my personal struggle and what it took to get me to the place where I am today. I'm also open about the fact that I've struggled with anxiety my whole life and what that looks like. And it helps me to understand my clients more that I've walked the walk. I talked about those incongruencies. Your gut will tell you when you're wearing a mask. Your gut will tell you when you're being inauthentic. Are you listening? Are you listening to your gut? We have one life. Don't you want to live it as you? Now with this, there is understanding for sure that everybody needs to make money. And sometimes that requires wearing a mask. So I'm asking you guys to look for places where you can be authentic in your career. Mix in little spots here and there so that you feel more like a whole person. Us and them doesn't fit for me. I know my roots and I know my truth. And if that truth keeps you from being able to learn from me and grow from me, then we aren't a match, and that's okay. Your vibe attracts your tribe. With that, here are my intentions for today. I am flawed. I will be honest about those flaws to hopefully provide a mirror that my clients can see their reflection in and recognize themselves in my journey. I am good at what I do. I've found my passion, and I'll put one foot in front of the other, believing that the outcome will be the right one for me at the time. I am dedicated to practicing mental health and talking about mental health for myself and for my clients. That might look different than the old school therapists, and I'm okay with that. It feels right to me, and I will follow my gut. Now it's time for you to set your intentions. Remember to breathe at the end. I won't give you the counts again. Feel it. Imagine it to already be so, and send it out. I will see you guys tomorrow on day 6 of Get Grounded.